All right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing on what I hope to be is a great Tuesday night, November the 24th, just 2 days away from Thanksgiving and like 5 or so from my birthday. I hope you're doing well. I saw a tweet from Gary over at Rock Solid Productions. Apparently his wife's car broke down and he's having a rough go of it because he thinks it's the alternator and it's just, it's never fun. So all our prayers out to Gary. I hope that your evening improves, and I hope that you were able to get the car towed and just, everything you need to get it fixed up here, man. But with that, let me go ahead and get the one and only John DiMarco into the stream. How are you doing tonight, John? I am good, and I don't think you're coming in for some reason. I don't think people can hear you. Try saying some stuff. What the heck? Okay. What? Oh. That was me. Sorry. You probably got some weird echo there for a second, everyone. I was trying to unmute stuff randomly. So, I did testing on this before I went live. I'm like, okay, every single time I mess up and I never get anti-trucker in here right and all that nonsense. So I actually sat down and I made sure that I had all the settings right. And then apparently I didn't. So hold tight, everyone. I apologize. It's supposed to pump the sound from Chrome into my audio program. And I specifically do it like that so that I can hear y'all and you can hear everyone else, but you can't hear the playback of the watch party, which we'll get up here in just a little bit. So it should be cable B input, which I have that. Oh gosh, I don't know why you're muted tonight, John. This is the pits. I apologize, everyone. You're just going to have to hold tight. I'm going to try to switch audio inputs for you, John, and see if that doesn't fix things. I just have to remember how to do this on the fly. Because, who doesn't want to come to a watch party for SeaQuest and see me fumble around with audio issues? I know that's what I'm here for. Hey, try saying something there, John. I cannot. It is being a complete dick. So we will try this one. You can now try talking. Not great, apparently. Gosh, what the heck? Here, try talking some right now. No. Keep talking.
Is this working? You enjoy the soothing sound of my voice?
Okay, there we go. I shoved us into the same mix, so it's just going to be forced to work. I ain't taking its guff. There we go. Man, so I have honestly been getting a lot of guff today, not from you or my computer, John, but from my kids. My kids have just given me non-stop flack tonight, and they get disciplined, and they're like, "What the crap, Dad? I didn't think we'd get in trouble for being little brats." I'm like, "What are you guys talking about? Like, I've never been this guy who's like, 'Oh, children, please obey your daddy.' It's like, okay, you disobeyed. There's a consequence. Here's the reason for the consequence. Like from the time they're like 1-year-olds, I talk to them like they were adults. Like, okay, this is what you did. This is why it was wrong. This is what the Bible has to say about it. And this is going to be your punishment for this offense. You know, time out, removing stuff, all the standard discipline stuff. And then today, it's like they're just having their minds blown that I would actually punish them for not obeying and doing what they're told. And it's like, guys, what is going on with you today? I'd blame it on a new moon, but I mean, no, it's a pretty boring lunar cycle right now.
Yeah, we're letting them watch Discovery, have you? They do about consequences there.
That's right. They think they'll Burnham. That's where I've gone wrong. I've been letting them watch Michael Burnham. Oh, rookie parenting mistake right there, John. Well, how have you been?
Not bad, thanks. How about you?
Aside from some guff from the kids, I mean, it actually has been a good day. You know, for those who don't know, which is probably most people, my wife came down with COVID on Thursday 2 weeks ago. And it was like, hey, man, I'm feeling kind of like exhausted. And, oh, wait, I just lost my sense of taste and smell. And we're like, okay, you got COVID. And sure enough, she did the test, COVID. And it just so happened that her dad was in town and we were going to celebrate Thanksgiving with her family the next day. And they were staying with us. So we're like, look, Amy has COVID. You guys probably want to find a hotel or something. And they're like, no, we're fine. So her dad and stepmom and stepsister and her sister and husband and 4 children. Am I forgetting one? The point is we had like 15 people in the house. None of us have gotten it. Amy was the only one. She cooked meals for everyone. She felt a little exhausted, but we've been cooped up in the house. So, and kind of trying to be like, let's do something fun. We've been putting up Christmas decorations. So it's actually been going really well on my end. It's just, you know, today for some reason they were off their rocker.
There's 15 people in your house? Does anybody have a number for the COVID hotline?
Okay, so everyone has been tested and everyone's come back negative, except for me. I tested on Monday and I'm waiting to, or yesterday I tested and I'm waiting to find out my results. And I stalled for a while because my oldest brother was supposed to come in town, the pastor, and so I wanted to give COVID the longest chance to show up in my system and get out of my system. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait until Monday. We'll test. My results should be here Wednesday night. And then we can find out if we can hang out together. But because he is a pastor, he actually decided just to stay where he lives so that he doesn't affect the people in his church. Because he has a lot of older people in his church. So he needs to make sure that he's not exposed like at all to it. Or at least, you know, you do what you can. And I accept that. I certainly accept that there's people out there who you do what you do. And I'm not going to judge you too much.
Seriously, I hope Amy's feeling better.
Thank you. She is. She is feeling restless. She's 100% over it. Like it was like 5 days of less severe symptoms than the flu, the respiratory flu. She was exhausted, never had a fever, no aches, no pains. The worst thing that she had is she has no sense of taste or smell. And I mean, that's a minor inconvenience, but she's like, it's so weird. I can feel the texture, but I can't taste anything, like nothing at all. And so it's like, I know this should be delicious, but it's nothing to me. That was the hardest thing for her. And so after that, she got her taste back like starting 2 days ago. So it's mostly back now. So she's doing very well. We appreciate the sentiment. So let me, I guess let's get the stream going. And hello to everyone. Thank you for hanging out as we kind of, as I fixed my errors. John was perfect. He did nothing wrong.
I'm sure I did something wrong.
You honestly did nothing. You showed up right on time. You were here. and your sound is working great. It's just for some reason, I don't get it. Like, to test this, I had YouTube playing, and I saw my little voice meter jumping around. I said, okay, we're good. Everything works. And I bring up Chrome, and it's like, I don't know, man. I got nothing for you. I'm like, what do you mean you got nothing for me, Chrome? And now I say that, I wonder if in my audio I changed that. Darn it, Matthew Bennett. That's it right there. That's why it's messing up. Well, I'm not going to change it now. I will worry about that later. And we can all have fun at the fact that I am an idiot. And that's okay. It is okay for me to be an idiot. So let me throw up the link. I should have had this up the whole time. We are watching Season 1, Episode 12, SeaWest. Is the name of this title, SeaWest. And I don't, is that supposed to be, is it supposed to be a pun? Or
yeah, that's the idea, I think.
Yeah, it's obviously supposed to be a pun, but like, what is the pun in this episode? Like, I don't get the SeaWest.
Well, I think the idea is it's supposed to be like a Western, just underwater. That's why they went with the SeaWest thing.
Oh. Okay. Okay, I can see that. I can see that. See, I was too hung up on the fact that this takes place in the Great Australia Reef area. And so everyone there is talking with an Australian accent, you know. And I'm like, I don't get it. Why is the land down under SeaWest? Like that? That makes no sense to me. And thank you so much to Bird of Prey 5 for your donation. It says, where were you today? I needed you. I got abducted and shot. I'm getting very suspicious of your loyalty, or your loyalty, excuse me. Bird, when was this? Were you playing Space Engineers? Because I was working and not playing video games. That's where I was. So I guess, and I don't know if you guys can hear that, but for some reason, like, the audio for any time a donation comes in is totally messed up these days. And I don't know what StreamYard issues is. I wish I did, because it's really annoying to me, and I have no idea if y'all guys hear that too. And Bradley Briggs says it's raining like a cow pissing on a flat rock outside right now. Bradley, by any chance, do you live in Texas? Because it just hit my house a few minutes ago. In fact, the wind, whenever the wind hits a certain window just right, it vibrates and it makes like this high-pitched kazoo hum. And it happens to be my son's room, and so it freaks them out every time. And like, so I just barely gotten them to settle down, and all of a sudden the window starts, and they're like, "What is that, Dad?" Just relax, everyone. It's a window. Okay. I mean, honestly, I get that it can rain in two different parts of the world at the same time, the same kind of weather patterns, but it just, I don't know. I figured to be in Texas because Texas is the bestest, in my humble opinion. If you can't be in Texas, at least be in Tennessee. That's kind of where I come down on it.
A lot better than being in Florida, I'm sure.
No offense, John.
Oh, I live here. I know what it's like.
Okay, well, let me stop pontificating and let's actually start this. And I've gotten this question a couple times. The point of John and I doing this, as we give kind of a summary, because you'll have the clips down in this window below us, and we'll give summaries of what's going on for anyone who doesn't want to watch it live. And hopefully we'll throw in a couple pithy statements that we think are particularly funny. So it is supposed to be like a live watch commentary. So if you are here right now, you can go to this link. There we go. This link right here on the screen that I'm pointing at. And you can watch this live with us. This syncs up everyone's video at the same time. If you are not watching this live right now, what you can do, you can still enjoy this. Go to peacock.tv, and you can sign up for a free account right now, and you can watch all of SeaQuest at your own speed, or just every week here with us, like I do over on Bird's DS9 streams. and have a good time. So you can either do it now, or you can come back and do it on your own schedule. And I will give a countdown this time because I admit I've been really bad about that. So I will absolutely try to, give some bigger heads up, because if you are watching this later, I want to make it easy for you to sync up. So on that, let's go ahead and get this started. Season 1, Episode 12, SeaWest, starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. And we do start the episode saying that we're in the new Osland Confederation by the Great Barrier Reef. And they are launching a probe to track something down. They haven't really given us too much information yet. But, some great stock footage of the Barrier Reef.
You see a sign for Welcome to Broken Ridge.
And Krieg makes a comment about mining underwater. Apparently, this is a mine of some sort. So it's not just like an oil rig. It's a mine. So we get Ford. Oh, I always get his name wrong. Krieg. Crocker?
Yeah, it's Crocker.
And Bridger as kind of our main ensemble for this initial outing. And they're trying to figure out who sent some signal. We got to stick together, figure out what's wrong, who sent the distress signal. And they get inside, and instead of seeing signs of distress, they see everyone going by quite happily. There's a couple of ladies riding on a tram. Everyone just seems pretty okay.
There's one fellow who seems to notice people from SeaQuest with interest.
Hey, Jeff, how are you doing tonight? And yes, Tim, I definitely broke my Streamlabs somehow. Okay, I'm so glad you explained to me the joke of this, John, because we literally get the walking into the saloon moment. They go into the bar area and everything just stops. Like all the music stops, everyone stops playing pool, and everyone just kind of looks at them. Just like the old Western, you walk into the saloon, the doors are swinging back and forth behind you, and the pianist stops playing. Hey, Thomas Potts, hello to you too as well as Robert. How are y'all tonight? So everyone splits apart. We're trying to figure out who sent the distress call, what's going on. And Bridger goes and asks the barkeep for some information, like where's the guy in charge? And he says, well, it's a little early for lunch, so I haven't seen him yet, but here's some alcohol. That's all you're going to get out of me. So everyone's like being really antagonistic toward them. So Krieg gets a bit of a better tactic. He finds a couple girls and starts, pouring them some champagne, saying, hey, any idea who could have sent a distress signal? Anyone's in trouble? They're like, well, look around, who isn't? And so he finds out that they are a couple singers, but a very specific type of singer. They're bad singers. They're apparently just like the worst singers. But they're saying that coming to Broken Ridge, you can kind of work out your act until you become a good singer.
And Ford and Crocker Tongues and guys playing poker. They're just like, yeah, we're fine. Nothing wrong here.
The only one in distress is me, looking at his hand. He's like, never mind. I'm actually doing pretty good. I'm in. And so then we kind of figure out that the guy who did send the signal, you see him and his kid and a dog earlier on, and he's trying to figure out how to approach them. And then he basically makes up his mind. The best way to approach them is to come up to Ford and say, I heard what you said about my wife, and just hit him with the right cross as hard as he can. And as they're rolling around in this bar fight scene or saloon fight scene, he whispers in Ford's ear, don't leave, help us. And then the Sheriff Cobb, who's also the head foreman of this mining facility, pulls them off and has a gun point to them. Hey, Manic Mouth Gaming, how are you doing today? We are doing a live watch of SeaQuest, Season 1, Episode 12. And if you want to, there's the link right here to watch along with us, or you can just enjoy the stills, and we'll do our best to keep it synced up. Although it looks like I'm about, 5 seconds late on that. Question is, do I try to fix it, or do I just roll with it? Oh, I've messed it up. I should have left it alone. Okay, I think that got pretty close. I may have made it worse.
Like you made it sound like a distress call, Matthew.
I think that's going to be the theme for tonight, John. I'm making it worse. Oh, I've made it everything worse.
The sheriff reveals that apparently they're responsible for mining gold.
Describes himself as if they were a small town, almost a family, really. And he has the offender locked up. And so he kind of gives this threatening moment. He says, I sent a couple boys over to your place and told your wife not to worry. Lovely woman, would hate for anything to happen to her. Or that boy of yours. Yeah, I'm going to try and get this clip a little bit better, guys.
I know the sheriff, meanwhile, was telling them from SeaQuest basically just to get out. We don't need your help here. They're just saying that we're not leaving until we figure out who sent that distress call.
No, I'm totally wrong. Everyone, clips will be synced up in just a minute. Don't worry. But he reveals that for years they've worked hard just to scrape by a living. And now the second things are going well for them, that's when the UEO shows up. And so he's saying, do you really care that much about us, or is your outfit just, looking for a cash grab, basically? He said, I think it would be better if you and your men just moved on.
And Bridger is not backing down.
He says, we're sorry you feel that way, but we got a distress signal to find. And Krieg points out, he's like, is it my imagination, or were we basically told to get out of town by sundown? And they realize that all this is a cover-up, but this isn't the place to discuss it, so they're going to go back to SeaQuest and try and figure out what's going on. And Ford is saying, we've got to go back. But Bridger explained that it's a little more complicated than that, that this is open territory. It's not UEO territory, so their jurisdiction isn't as hard-clad as it would be in other places. And I think I missed it. Darn it, I'm just all sorts of wrong right now.
Meanwhile, they hear some barking coming from under the deck. And the dog comes out with a message left them by the kids, so they need to come back and help them.
I think that's the best I'm going to get. I'm going to stop messing with it before I make it even worse. And so Lewis is giving a quick history lesson of this area about how this Broken Ridge is one of the, places that was part of the great mining rush, the gold rush of the area, undersea gold rush.
They've been running scans, but apparently they haven't picked up anything unusual yet.
So Ford is kind of arguing that they go in with a little more show of force, but Bridger's saying we have to be more diplomatic and more careful. And so they're coming up with, and this is one of the things I do enjoy about this episode. Instead of just being like, we could blow them out of the water, or we could do a spy insertion, they realize that there's a constant stream of civilians coming in from Australia. And everyone there is hard up for entertainment. So what they could do is send someone in to be like a singer or something, an entertainer. And Hitchcock volunteers herself. And everyone's kind of shocked. Like, really? You? And she goes, well, I can sing. I'm not a pro, but I can at least hold my own. And Craig responds with, you sang in the shower. and Krieg he's really trying to get her out of it. He wants Cobb to go and do it. But Hitchcock is really gung-ho to do this herself.
That also makes sense because the people on the mining colony haven't seen her yet.
Yeah. In springtime, yeah, they were married. I forget that quite a bit. But yes, Krieg and Hitchcock were at one time married. It's come up in 2.5 episodes so far. And Bradley Briggs was saying, I just watched an episode of TNG that's a lot like this episode, a colony on a planet and people want to leave. Which episode was that, Bradley? And Springtime is saying, remember what life was like back in 2018? I'm sure your family doesn't want to know about your life as an undersea outlaw. That's right, Springtime. In the far-off future of 2018, we used to have undersea mining facilities where I was an outlaw. Okay, so help me out here. Is Hitchcock supposed to be doing an Australian accent throughout this sequence?
I'm not entirely sure.
She either has the worst accent to the point that you can't hear it, or she's not trying to do one, like she's trying to do this kind of sultry, seductive voice. Either way, I'm not 100% sure, even after watching this a couple times. That is, however, a amazing 90s style hat she's wearing, complete with the giant floral decoration.
And it seems the sheriff was already taking a liking to her.
Yeah, she says, there are lots of girls on the boat. What's so special about me? And he says, your eyes, they're stunning, but they're hiding something. I just don't know what it is. And then he goes from general flirt to full on creep when he grabs her hand. It's like, you're not afraid of me, are you? You know, you basically just have a band playing, waving red flags in the background at that point. But she tells him, you know, I didn't come here to get married. Came here to be an entertainer. And Cobb, without missing a beat, is like, okay, well then how are you entertaining me? And she kind of gives him the cold shoulder, you know, well, it's a 2-drink minimum to find that out. So if you'll excuse me, I need to figure out where I'm staying. And she goes off to try and get more information about what's going on here.
She wanders around and bumps into the kid coloring a picture.
Which, to be fair, he's doing a lot better job than I could do, even today. Like, I wish I could color this well. And he's going to be a great poker player. She comes out and tells him, we found your dog. And he just sits there like, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. But eventually he does turn around and is like, well, the dog's name was Banjo. And then we cut over to Banjo barking at everyone's favorite dolphin. And Lewis. Lewis is also here. But he says that he was able to eventually find some information on the people on the guy who took a swing at Ford. And the issue that he had was the ownership has changed hands so many times. So it was really hard to track down this information. And Jeff says he doesn't see Lewis, but I do see a Lucas. It must be the glasses messing things up for you, Jeff. I got the laser surgery, so I have amazing vision. So this main guy's wife, which you can see right here, the brunette sitting next to Hitchcock, I believe she has been in Star Trek Enterprise, Voyager, and DS9. But all on bit parts.
I didn't recognize her.
I only recognized her because I was looking up the guest appearances today. And when I typed in her name, it auto-completed Star Trek. I'm like, wait, what? So I think every time she's been on there, she's been like heavily make-upped. But you find out that apparently Cobb somehow killed his dad. But for some reason, he's being held quasi-captive by Cobb. That somehow this guy, through the way they handed out land at the time, that you had to work it for 5 years, he's been able to almost get ownership of it. Like they've almost been there for 5 years. So everyone has to be working there together in order to sign off, or else Cobb has nothing. So everyone is kind of mutually held captive by each other. They head out somewhere where they can get a clear signal for her to signal SeaQuest, because this guy Sutter, he wants to get out of there. But Cobb needs everyone to stay there, or else they lose the mining rights. So Sutter goes off to keep an eye out for people. And of course, he immediately runs into Cobb. Crocodile Cobby.
I was wondering if he was related to Osteoprey.
It was interesting that in this episode, you have Cobb, who at least has a passable Australian accent to my American ears. And then you have Sutter, who's like not even trying to do an accent. And I wonder if they couldn't find enough Aussielanders to fill out the roster, or they just said, "Hey, we need some. If he's going to do a lot of speaking lines, we need him to speak with an American accent, or else people will be like put off by this episode." Because I have known a lot of people who refuse to get into Who because of the British accents.
I have noticed in other places where sometimes they'll use different accents to kind of distinguish between the different sides, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know in Star Wars, the Empire usually speak with British accents. The Rebels usually have American accents.
So does that make Rey part of the Empire?
Well, it's not perfect because Obi-Wan also has a British accent. So
true. So Cobb is beating Sutter or Lenny up because he wants to know who Hitchcock is. And he's not buying Cobb's story that he doesn't know. He thinks she's nobody. And Cobb threatens that, I'd hate to have this conversation with your wife. And right as he makes this threat, Hitchcock comes up behind him and, beans him with a shovel, knocking him out. Which, movies do this a lot, but he would be fully concussed and possibly serious head injury from getting slapped upside the head with a shovel. Like you wouldn't just wake up with a little headache and a bandage situation as they're going to do here.
Oh, look, it's your favorite character, Darwin.
It is Darwin. Yeah, and he comes in, close caves, and they work out that, of course, there's other ways into this mining facility. And so they speculate that any place as large as Broken Ridge would have dozens of mine shafts or entryways, because that way you could take the slag and immediately export it instead of having to drag it all the way through the facility. And they decide that they can use one of these entry points to do a covert entry and, extract their people. But Sutter, he's unimpressed. He says, well, unless they're planning on coming here guns and blazing, there's no way Cobb's going to let us out. They said, no, we're going to come in the back door. And so Hitchcock is planning on keeping Cobb distracted while everyone else gets to the extraction point. Jeff, did the laser scrambles my brains? No, Jeff, my brains were always this perfect jumble that they are.
Yeah, Krieg wants to go on the rescue mission, but we're just telling him no. That Krieg's trying to change his mind.
And it actually works. Bridger agrees that he can go down there, but he says, you better make full sure that, she doesn't end up having to take care of you as well. Don't become a liability for her. And I do love this, what do you call that? Like, not RV, camper of Cobb's. This is exactly what you would expect to find on an oil field situation. where the people who are going to be there long terms on the pad site literally do bring their RVs or whatever they have on hand, so they have a small piece of comfortable living instead of having to find the closest hotel, which would be hours away. And yeah, they're underwater, but I love the fact that the foreman has that sort of camper set up. Springtime is saying this is why you don't hire a soap opera actress for your team. Talking about Hitchcock. And so they go in through one of these backdoor entrances. And at this point, Hitchcock is trying to get out of there. He says, well, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go use the ladies' room. And Cobb grabs her and says, I know what you're up to. And you're like, oh, crap, he worked it out. But he says, I know you're trying to get out of here without having sung to me. And he says, now I've waited long enough. You're going to sing now. Which, is this a euphemism? I feel like this is a euphemism.
Could be.
But she agrees. She says, okay, fine. I'll go sing now. So she heads up to the stage and asks the piano man to play her song. Now, do you think this is actually her singing, or do you think that she's just doing a decent job lip syncing?
I honestly don't know.
It's really hard to... If it is lip syncing, she did a great job thinking up to it. Springtime, are you saying that I'm Cobb? Maybe if I shave the beard and just have a 5 o'clock shadow. Don't go back to my life of undersea crime. And here we see a couple of workers just chilling, trying to have lunch, and unfortunately that's when Ford and Crocker show up. And I do love that TV, which for some reason, of all the things you could show on a TV underwater, they choose to show stock images of the coral reef instead of like a sports game or anything else a bunch of guys may be more interested in seeing in a bar. So Springtime, this must be 2018 in the Prime universe. We must be in an alternate universe, one that didn't get cool undersea submarines.
Well, sure, we're in a mirror universe after all.
So yeah.
That makes sense.
That's why we're sporting the beards, because we're all mirror universe people.
Indeed.
Springtime is saying in 2015, all sports were outlawed in Australia. Springtime, I have no idea if you're joking or not. Like, like the world we live in right now is so weird. I could literally see Australia passing a law like that. Or I could see you saying that in the show they passed that law. It's hard to differentiate between satire and reality these days. And Thomas is saying you don't have a beard, but I don't have a beard. Well, that's because you're a good guy, Thomas. And they are really padding this out. Hitchcock is continuing to croon and kind of give some special attention to Cobb there.
And Krieg's certainly enjoying the show.
And she begins to kind of flirt her way over to Krieg's position. Thomas, did you really beam Bird of Prey into space to shoot him? That's great.
And Krieg grabs her when they run off.
Jeff is saying if Australia outlawed sports in 2015, then they quickly legalized because Australia has participated in the World Cup since. You know, you say that, and yet we've all seen a ton of doctors and politicians who swear you have to wear masks right now, going to like huge sporting events and densely packed restaurants without wearing masks. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's proof of a government not obeying itself.
Are you suggesting that a government official could be hypocritical? How dare you?
I know. And Springtime is saying that Stacey Hydak, that's Lieutenant Hitchcock, can now be seen on one soap opera after another ever since she played this role. Huh. Yeah, Jeff, my brains are scrambled. That's why I believe that government officials could be hypocritical. It's the scrambled brains. But unfortunately, in their escape, Ford was captured. And now Cobb is saying, bring back the Sutters or else Ford gets it. And they keep, giving him the kidney punch. But Ford tells... Yeah. Sorry. And so they actually leave. Hitchcock says, okay, you heard him. Let's go.
It's amazing. Superior officer gives an order and the subordinates actually follow it.
It blows my mind. I guess they're not Marines, so she doesn't mind leaving him behind too much. And Thomas is saying that Bird left you no choice. I don't know about that. So now we get Bridger talking to his conscience. And Jiminy Cricket is, are you sure you're making the right choices? Sort of counseling session. Do you really think Cobb would kill him? And Bridger says, yeah, I do. I do think that he'd kill Ford. And, I take it back. He's not Jiminy Cricket. He is Deanna Troi. Because after saying that Cobb might actually kill them, the hologram responds with, and are you upset with him because your values differ from his own? What's some homicide between allies? Come on now. Don't you think you're just judging him a little harshly?
I didn't realize it before. You're right. It's just like Deanna Troy's hologram.
Data, I had homicidal thoughts. Well, homicidal thoughts are something I feel all the time listening to you, Data, so I think it's a perfectly acceptable emotion. She's racist, says Thomas. Yeah, that's what it was. She was ready to leave Ford behind because she's massively racist. And we don't put up with that on this show. And Jeff is saying that, what this show needs? A little more cowbell. Well, we could try adding some cowbell to the SeaQuest theme. I'll do my best for you, Jeff. And Sutter is saying he's going to do what he can to rescue Ford. And he's extremely thankful, and all that really matters is that his wife, his son are safe.
Bridger says no weapons.
And Crocker says, the odds aren't in our favor, kind of having a C-3PO moment. And Bridger responds with, never tell me the odds, kind of. And so they leave the weapons behind. He said, well, weapons aren't going to make a difference because of how outnumbered we are. Oh, I wish I could remember Speed Racer's little brother's name, because this is totally that kid and Chim Chim moment. He always had that monkey around with him, and they'd always be sneaking in the back of the Mach 5. That's that kid. In springtime, he's saying that the show was cool back in 94, 93, but in 2020, it's really weird. I think it's actually held up fairly well, at least as well as the first season of TNG has held up. Even the second or third.
Oh, yeah, I think it's far better than the first season of TNG.
Yeah. Yeah. And Cobb is, I shouldn't be surprised, Hitchcock, that you were an officer, but tell me, do you like me just a little? And she responds with, how's your head? Like, no, I didn't. In fact, I'm the one who smacked you up backside the head. Jeff is saying it's not as good as TNG Season 3. Maybe not, but I think it held up as well as TNG Season 3. Like, I think the stories are still fun. Yeah, anytime you do too close in the future and time catches up with you and it's nothing like you were expecting, then it's like, haha, we messed up on that guess. But if you ignore the fact that it's supposed to be 2 years ago, I think that it's still a good futuristic type show. And Bridger has figured out the screw to be turning here. They're saying that UEO has no jurisdiction. You need to get out of here. And he says, you're right. I don't. But let's be honest. Once you dig up that gold, who are you going to sell it to? Because here's the thing. I've called up your buyer. And once I told them what you were doing, they decided that they're going to boycott you. They're not going to buy from you anymore. And it turns out that the buyer is very much in favor of the UEO because they've been extremely good for business by keeping peace and stability. So you got no one to sell your gold to. You're not going to get rich, not with Cobb. So it's time to get rid of Cobb. And then the kid shows up with the gun, the thing that Bridger said wouldn't be helpful at all in this situation. So he shows up next to Ford, handing him a firearm. And Cobb is ready to shoot him. But it turns out that guns were extremely useful in this situation. And Ford was able to, do a shot across the bow, kind of warning, to defuse the situation enough for them to get the gun away from Cobb. But Cobb goes running off into the mines. Thomas is saying, don't the emu control Australia? Was that an autocorrect? Did you mean the UEO, or are you literally talking about emus?
Oh, speaking of the Great Emu War. You ever heard of that one?
I haven't, no.
Yes, there was a time where the Australian army declared war on the emu, and the emu won.
So Sutter shows up, ready to throw down with Cobb. And he said, I'm done running. For once, I'm going to fight back. Like, this whole time, he's been taking Cobb's punches because he was worried about his family. But now he can actually stand up knowing that his family's safe. But even with that, Cobb's a dirty cheater and smacks him upside the head with a rock and is ready to impale him with a pickaxe. And Cobb gets mad at Captain Bridger, says, this is my fight. And Bridger says, well, you want it to be a fair one, don't you? And Cobb looks over his shoulder at Ford and Crocker with handguns. He's like, fine. And so now they're having a true and proper fist fight, mano a mano. Hey, Daniel's Hot Topic, how you doing? Cobb ran into the mines of Kuroga. Yeah, the Kurogans, we don't put up with insubordination and we don't put up with corruption. So Cobb would have been forcibly removed from the mines of Kuroga, and someone loyal would have been put in his place. And Sutter says, no more, no more. Which I think Billy Piper did a better job saying no more, but he does a good job. Cobb is ex-Australian Army after the war with New Zealand in 2012, which Australia lost, apparently. And John, I see you put in a link to the Great Emu War. Oh, gosh.
It's great.
Okay. We'll get that queued up for later. Life with Matthew, have you seen any hot women fight in this show? Like a girl-on-girl fight? No, I don't think you have. This show has actually been extremely... what would you call it? Progressive isn't the right word. Non-sexist. Where
it's not really that kind of show.
Yeah, where like in the first episode, you had the lady captain, the first one of the SeaQuest, who went mad with power, and she was treated like a competent military officer. You're relieved of command. Well, an incompetent military officer. And then anytime you see Hitchcock fighting, she's actually, fighting competently. But I don't think you've ever had kind of the two girls slipping around wet and goo or something, pulling each other hair fight like you got between Tasha Yar and like the third episode of TNG.
We don't speak of that episode.
Oh, I speak about it all the time. And like here's the Great Birds of the Galaxy, most racist episode he ever came up with. Daniel Hot Topic saying that this show reminds me of Star Trek. As well it should. This show is so Star Trek. Especially, it's very later seasons of TNG. Fun episodes, fun casts, crew who complement each other in terms of skills and ability. The annoying Wesley character played by Darwin. And this music right here sounds exactly like TNG. Like I would fully expect to see this at the end of a TNG episode. And good old Brad Ballard talking about how... Oh, go on, John.
But I think it's Bob Ballard, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah, so he's just talking about how we're going to have to be mining the oceans eventually, and we need to make sure that we do it responsibly and competently so that we can pass things on to the next generation. Which is interesting, because nowadays, if someone were to talk about undersea mining, it would be like, no, how dare you? You can never do that. And back then it was like, hey, you know what? We just need to do it responsibly. That's our only thing. Let's see, Robert is saying that Sprittle was the name of Speed Racer's little brother. Okay, Sprittle. Yeah, that kid was definitely being a sprittle, always hiding where he shouldn't have been hiding. And apparently, Jeff is saying if I listen to the episode of TNG, the third one, the most racist Star Trek episode ever, that apparently it's not that bad. I'll take your word for that, Jeff. And that's it, Jeff. Yep, it's over, unfortunately. And Daniel is saying, I really hope in Unification 3, which we will see tomorrow. Technically not tomorrow, but the day after. It's not quite that late yet. He hopes that we'll see flashbacks to TOS and TNG, Unification 1 and 2. You know, honestly, Daniel, there's a very large part of me that's expecting them to do zero tie-in with Unification from TNG. Like, I can fully see them... I can see them not even realizing there was a Unification in TNG. I can see them picking Unification 3 just because they thought the name sounded cool and having zero idea.
Yeah, it's really been great with the episode numbers so far, because the season premiere was The Hope Is You Part 1, and there's been no Part 2.
Right? I wonder if, honestly, I do wonder if IMDb has names wrong, and maybe there is that Hope Is You Part 2 as the season finale, and they're just hiding that. Oh, and Jeff has the same kind of idea. He's saying that Part 2 will be next season. I could see that. But I'm still holding out hope that the end of this season, we will see Michael leave Discovery. And I'm going to stand by that prediction until I'm proven wrong.
Well, I'm still holding out hope the show will get canceled after this season.
Springtime is guessing that the next episode of STD will be a crossover with the CW show. The writers on it are all CW writers, or most of them used to be CW writers, so I wouldn't be surprised. Oh my goodness, I could totally see a Flash character coming in. Oh man, now you got me thinking, who is tall? Like, if I had to connect her to a CW character, who would that be? I feel like Saru is Briggs from the Arrow universe. The sidekick, the black guy. What is his name? I think it's Biggs or Briggs. I honestly watched like the first season halfway of Arrow and then got tired of it. I gotta look this up. Who's the cast? Come on. Cast and characters. Katie, I don't care about her. No, don't care about Diggle. John Diggle. That's who I'm trying to think of. I can see Diggle being Saru. I don't know. I could get sidetracked way too easily on this because I can totally see so many of those characters just being copied and pasted. Like, hey, you know what? We need a character to do this. What if we just took someone from The Flash and made them an alien? Huh?
Genius.
Let's go get lattes. I'm done for the day. Who would be Felicity? Have you seen any of the CW stuff?
I have not.
Okay, so this conversation means nothing to you. I think Tilly would be Felicity, a fat redheaded version, but Felicity nonetheless. I'm gonna have to bring this up on the pub tomorrow night. I blame springtime for this subject tomorrow night, guys. 100%. and I hope Darren comes up here, and I hope that we can get Chief Cook up here too to talk about this, because I know that both of them love the DC Marvel comic book stuffs, and I would love their take on this. Oh gosh. And, Daniel's saying, Matthew, my favorite handheld console, the Nintendo 3DS, has been discontinued, along with Luigi's Mansion, one of my favorite games ever. Are you saying that Luigi's Mansion was currently in development for the 3DS, or that it had been released and now that it's canceled, they're not going to make any new copies of it? So while I'm waiting for that, how did you like this episode, John?
I thought it was a fun episode.
It was definitely a much more fun episode once I got the joke of it being a Western. And I can't believe I missed the joke. I 100% missed it.
Well, it's even better. It was an Australian Western.
I wonder if Australia does have its Seven Samurai, the Dirty Dozen type movie. Dirty Dozen? What's the one in America? There was a remake of the Seven Samurai.
The Magnificent Seven.
The Magnificent Seven, that's what it is. I wonder if Australia has its version of that. Or if Australia even did a spaghetti Western style movies at any point in time.
Oh.
Darn it. Australia. Spaghetti. Wash. No. Western. Spaghetti Western Orchestra.
Nice.
It's an Italian restaurant in Australia. There you go. Apparently that's all I'm going to get out of that. There's literally a spaghetti Western orchestra from Australia. This is not what I was expecting at all. Okay, share screen. There we go. I'll try and make this so everyone can read it. The Spaghetti Western Orchestra, formerly the Ennio Morricone Experience, is a quintet of musicians who perform music from spaghetti westerns. They performed at venues such as the Studio in Sydney. John Shand, reviewing their act, praised its inventive humor, saying that their versatility is a constant surprise and a regular source of laughs. That is great. I'm going to have to watch some YouTube videos on this group. This is not what I was expecting when I typed that in today. And Daniels is saying Luigi's Mansion was released in 2018 for the Nintendo 3DS, and now that the Nintendo 3DS is gone, so is Luigi's Mansion. Well, you know what? You can always get yourself a copy. Even if you can't get yourself a brand new in-box copy, you will always be able to find at least a copy used out on eBay. And possibly there are some other high C ways of getting such games, me matey. If you get what I'm putting down. And it's not like the 3DS is canceled. It's not like everyone's going to go out and destroy their consoles. You're still going to play it. So cry not, Daniel's Hot Topic. It's still there. It's still there. But I do love Luigi's Mansion. I only had the GameCube version, mainly because I'm too much of a cheapskate to get new consoles. So I don't have a 3DS. Or Switch. Or anything like that. So did you have any problems with this episode this week?
I don't recall any problems in the episode, no.
Yeah, I'm not. Alright, so I guess my only problem would be the kid who kept showing up exactly when you needed him to. What did you say his name was, Robert? Oh gosh, the Speed Racer kid, Sprittle. He was very much doing a Sprittle act. Which I don't know if you've ever seen Speed Racer, John.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so the general premise is an anime back in the days when production value was very low. And it's one of those dub jobs that got the reputation for there being no synchronization between what was said and the movement of the mouth, which is a beautiful thing. But you had the main character, Speed Racer, who went around racing in the powerful Mach 5. And in each episode, he would tell his little brother and his little brother's pet chimpanzee to stay out of trouble. And in each episode, they would sneak into the trunk of this Mach 5, and somehow they'd get into some hilarious hijinks before the show was over. So the fact the kid kept poking his head out from a grate really reminded me of the way in Speed Racer, the little brother would always be poking his head out from the trunk of the Mach 5. And Daniel was saying, Luigi's Mansion 3 cannot hold a candle to the original Luigi's Mansion. I didn't even know there was a 2, let alone a 3. I thought they were all just remakes. And Springtime is saying that the little kid became a producer for the CW in 2032.
Oh, that's a terrible fate.
Oh, gosh. So, yeah, it was a good episode. It was interesting to see Hitchcock sing, assuming that really was her singing in this episode. And, a lot of their plan didn't make too much sense. Like, assuming there were back doors all over the place, I would have assumed that any sort of mining organization would have locked that down such that you couldn't just push the button on the outside and have the door swing up and, you're good to go now. We got it. Yeah. And then I guess it was also kind of weird that, I don't know. I guess it was kind of hard to follow the main plot line for why Cobb had everyone's captive. Like why everyone went along with this. What made Cobb come out so much on top of the dog pile just for everyone to instantly turn on him? Maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention any of the times I watched it to really follow that plot line.
I think supposedly he was offering that they'd make more money under him. I'm not sure how exactly.
Yeah.
That's the impression that I got. So then they realized they weren't going to be making any more money. That's why they turned on him.
Okay. And it certainly makes sense. It was definitely the money angle that seemed like it made them turn on him. But even with that stuff, I did enjoy the episode. It was a lot better than I think it was last week's episode we watched. I think that was kind of the lowest bar that we've hit so far. I want to say the regulator. Yes, that's it. The regulator and the sphere evolution theory. Oh gosh. Okay, Thomas. Yes, I skipped last week, but I mean the last one we viewed. I'm just too lazy to say 2 weeks ago. Daniels is asking, have I seen the last Star Wars Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 4 episode? No, I have not. I have been mostly watching The Mandalorian. It's just there's something about this season that's not really holding my attention. I'm not sure what the difference is, but something about this season is just kind of lackluster to me for some reason. I'm not sure. Maybe I missed something in the first episode where they set up what was going to happen. But in this season, I guess I don't really see the overarching plot line. I know in the end of last season, Mother Superior gave him the instructions to find the Yoda's species people and get him reunited with his species. But then you get to this season, and it seems like the primary focus so far has been on finding other Mandalorians. And so then like he's kind of hit the top of his game at this point. And one of the things I really enjoyed about season 1 was how each episode he grew in his abilities. He got a little more access to weapons, and you got to see him really flex his intelligence. And this season is more like, and now I shall shoot things, and now the problem is solved.
I think the idea with this season is he's looking for other Mandalorians so they can help him find the Jedi so he can give Baby Yoda back to them.
Thomas Paz is saying that the regulator was like that weird theory from Planet Nine. Yes, the solar manite, where you could blow up the light from the sun and it would cause a cascade reaction that would blow up everything that the sunlight touched, even out to the farthest reaches of space. Yes, that was a fun movie. It really was. I had so much fun doing that with Anti-Trucker. But it was such a bad movie too. Well, John, any final thoughts as we wrap up this episode?
I did think of one possible drawback to this episode.
What's that?
The fact that Darwin had a very small role this week.
Yes, truly. How will I survive without my precious Darwin, that water horse creature? Where is Cinnabon?
The whole show together.
I need Cinnabon here so he has my back on horses and dolphins. Freaking dolphins. Oh. Well, John, as always, yeah, I did ask. And thank you so much for joining me reviewing another episode of SeaQuest this week.
Always a pleasure to be here, as always.
Yeah. And guys, thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you probably not next week. The week after is, I think, the next time we'll do this. And we'll talk offline. I need to make sure that I'm hitting your schedule right. But let's see. Jeff saying, I saw a drawback. I didn't see any Lewis, but a real plus, Lucas wasn't it. Oh, you wacky Jeff Franklin, you and your imaginary Lucases. So I'll finish SeaQuest in 30 years. Well, hopefully a little sooner than that, Thomas. Hopefully a little sooner than that.
Just a bit.
Yeah. But guys, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you next week, 2 weeks, whenever we do this next. And have a good Thanksgiving. I'll see you tomorrow night for the virtual pub, I hope. Good night, all.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please share it. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that bell icon to be kept up to date with all the new videos that I release on this channel. And as always, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.